Okay, so it's week 3. It's a very snowy January, soon to be a rainy January day, I think, by this afternoon. Yes, I hope not, but that's so we're told. So I've just loaded the Everything Store application in Visual Studio, and I'll get my IIS Express server running through the debug, and I'm going to start without debugging menu. We talked last week that I could use debug or press play here, but then that's going to lock Visual Studio, so I can't make changes unless I stop and then restart the server. So I'm going to choose start without debugging. If your project is a bit behind, my repository is on GitHub. You're free to grab it and run my version if you need to. So here's where we left off last week. We replaced the content on the home page. I'll have to update this link to go directly to my repository. And we created this fake list of products, right? So we created a product model, and then we used a loop to generate a list of products. Could actually go and look at our code. So in our home controller, we created a product method, and we tried 2 different ways of passing the product. So first we used the view bag, where we just created a list of strings. We looped from 1 to 10, and then we stuck this list in our view bag. Then we commented out that code, and we actually created a list. We created a kind of a quick and dirty product model that had 1 property, a product name. And then we created a strongly typed list in a loop, and we passed that data to our view. So this was the back end, the controller end of things, how we created data and passed it off to the user interface. And then we generated this view, and we added this line up at the top. And this line is kind of key to this entire thing working. What's happening on line 1? We're going to explain this in everyday language. What's the point of that line? What does it do? And this line 1 here is connected with line 55 in our controller. There are sort of 2 sides of an operation. What's happening on line 55? Emilio? So it's calling the view. And what about the parameter? What's this doing? Right, it's passing that list of data that we've generated here. It's not only loading a view, but it's also giving the view some data. Unlike the previous views we had, the previous methods, they load a view, but there's nothing being given to them, right? Those return statements, there's no parameters. So if our return statement is loading the view and also handing it data, what is happening on line 1? Is up? Yep. Right, these are 2 sides of the same operation. Our controller method is loading the view called products and passing it a list of type product. So this declaration says this view is expecting product data to come in. And what about this keyword? What does that mean? Right. Not only is this view getting product data, but it's getting a list of products rather than a single product. So we need both of these things. We need our return statement to send the data, and we need this model declaration on our view so the view knows what kind of data it's going to receive. So this is the receiving end, this is the sending end. And we need both of these things to happen in order for our view to be able to receive and represent the data we want to show. So we get a list of products in, and then we loop through the list, and we're outputting each product name. This isn't real data. It's not coming from our database, but it will certainly by next week's class. We're just kind of mocking it for now. So this is where we left off last week. So we'll replace this. We're not going to replace this view today, but we will soon enough. So we've got a product view for now and a product method. We're going to modify this a bit more. Right now, this shows us a list, but we can't actually do anything with this list. What if we want to make these, each one of these a link that we can click on, and it would take us to, say, a product detail, where it would show the name of the product and maybe have an add to cart button. So we would need to do three things in order for this to happen. What three things will we need to do in order to make these link to another page that would show information about this? What's one thing we would have to do? No? Right, we're going to need to add to this view, we're going to need to wrap all of these product names in HTML action links. So that would be one thing we need to do. What else do we have to do? So we could make those links. That would probably be step one. What would we need to do to make that next page functional? Yep, we need to create the view that we want to display when the user clicks on any one of these. And then we'd need to do one more thing. How would we get that view to actually load? We'd need to do something in our back-end C# code as well. Right, we would need to create a new method in the controller that calls the view. So we're going to make these links to a method. We have to build that method. That method would then load the appropriate view. So 3 steps in order to make this happen. So we're going to take these product names and we're going to use an HTML action link. Our first parameter is going to be, what is the text of the link? Well, it can just say the name of the product. We're then going to have to make a new method in our controller. So we have a products method that lists all the products. That's the view we're looking at right now. So what are we going to want to call this new method that we're going to create? So again, the purpose of this is to show details about one particular product. So what might be a descriptive name for that method? What would you call it? Okay, so sure, we could call it view product, singular. That would make sense. And what controller is that method going to be in? What controller do we have right now? Yeah, So we'll just put it in the home controller. This isn't complete, but this is a starting point. If we refresh our products view now, each of those 10 product names should be links. Go back to your browser and hit refresh. It should change from static text, static list items, to hyperlinks. We'll just reload it. So they turn blue. What will happen if we try one of these links? So it's looking now for a method called viewProduct in our home controller. We get a 404 because we're calling a method we haven't written yet. We've done step one, so step two is we need to now go make that method, and then we can generate the view. So if we go to our controller, we'll create a method with that name, and we'll use Pascal case, so make sure you use a capital V and capital P. That's the convention. Why is Visual Studio complaining right now? If I moused over the red line, what would it tell us? Yeah, we're expecting an action result. There's no return statement yet. So what does the return statement look like? Return a view. Okay, now we've made a new method in the controller, so we need to compile. Right? This method is not part of our DLL yet. If we refresh the browser right now, even though we've got a method, we're still going to get that same 404 error. So we want to build, so that viewProduct method is now embedded into our DLL. So I could build successfully. What's going to happen if we refresh this? What do you expect to happen? You think it will load the view name, the view called viewProduct? Well, let's see. We haven't missed anything. Well, sorry. Let's see what happens. Remember, we said there were 3 steps we needed. Make them links with action link, we've done that. Make the method, we've done that. What was the 3rd step? Right, creating the view. So the 404 error goes away. It successfully calls the right method now, but now that method tries to return a view called viewProduct, and that doesn't exist yet. So we can auto-generate that view, and this error is going to go away. So the easiest way to do it, if I just right-click my method name and choose Add a View. For now, I'm just going to pick, I'm going to say an empty template, but we'll use our layout page so that we have our site layout and design. So under the layout page, I'm just going to browse into views, shared, and select our layout template. So it's scaffolding, it's auto-generating this view for us. So I'll maybe change the title here to product details. And because the view files don't have a C# extension, there's no need to build. We should just be able to go back and refresh our browser and get our new view. So once it reloads, rather than getting a 404 error or a view file not found, it loads our new view. So we've done all three of those steps. We created the action links, we built our method, we added our method and built the solution, and then we generated the view with the same name. So now our links are working. So this is mostly working. I would suggest there's one more thing we need to do. What's kind of missing? It's functional, but it's sort of incomplete. What's missing?
For a particular product, like you need one more pointing to a particular product, like product one or product.
Yeah, we lost what product they clicked on. All the links go to the exact same place. We at the very least want to show the name of the product here that they clicked on, and we can just put in a pretend add to cart button, for example, beside it. So let's maybe do this. Put on the button. We've got a button here, but we want another heading that includes the product name. So we've used the action link, but right now our 10 product links all go to the exact same place. As soon as we get to this view, we've lost the user's selection. So we need to modify that action link as well as modify our method, because we need to include a parameter on that link. We don't want all 10 links to be the same. They all go to the same place, but each one needs to pass a name, a product value along to the next page. So we know if the user clicked on product 1 or product 10. So far, I'm going to go back to my products view. So far, we've only used the most basic version of the action link method. There are 10 overloads. Visual Studio tells you and shows us. So far, we've been using, so there's even a simpler one. If we don't specify the controller name, it assumes it's the same controller we're already in. So far, we've been using this one each time. The fourth overload, the text on the link, the method to call, and the name of the controller. We need to use this version instead. So there's actually 5 parameters. The first 3 parameters are the same. Text on the link, method to call, name of controller. The next 2 parameters, we're not really interested in this one, so we're just going to pass a null for the 5th one. But we're interested in the 4th parameter here, which are the root values. So basically, we want to pass a variable, in effect, along with the link. So that method can accept that variable in, and then it knows which product to show. So we're going to create a new parameter here. So we're passing the product name as a parameter, and our last parameter is set to null. We'll modify that last parameter afterwards. That just allows us to put on HTML attributes like say a style. We wanted to add a class definition to that link, we could. So let's see what this gives us. So we're going to pass in a variable which we'll call product name. I'll go back to products, and we'll see these links work now. So notice in the status bar now, at the end of our URL, we have product name equals, and as I roll over the different products, that value is changing, which is what we want. So if I click product 10, it calls view product, but now it's passing in the name. So again, this is what we added to the end of our action link. Oh, everything that's highlighted in blue, I just added. So now we need to modify that view product method. Right? We're passing in a parameter called product name, so we need to add that parameter to our method. What data type is that parameter? Yeah, we're just passing in a string. Most of the time when we pass parameters, methods in MVC apps, typically we're actually passing in ID values, primary key values. But for now, we'll just pass in product name. So now our method knows which product the user clicked on. So we now want to display that product name over here. So there's a few different ways we could do it. What would be the easiest way to just pass that string to the view? We could pass it in the parameter, yep. Or what would our other option be? Yeah, we could just stick that, it's a single value, we could just put it in the view bag as well. Both would be correct. Usually in the parameters, if we're usually we pass strongly typed data in parameters. Certainly not wrong. You could do it in either one. Because it's just a single string value, I'll just use the view bag. But if you want to pass it in as a string in the return statement, that's fine too. So I'll say view bag.product name. Whatever's passed on the link, we're going to stick that value in the view bag. And then in my view, we already have an H2 tag set up by default with the heading, the title view product, maybe underneath it, or actually I can put it right here, right in my heading. How would we now display the name of that product? We'll just inject that variable into our H2 tag. So now we can try this. Let's go back, we'll click a product, see if we get that product name showing it. I'll go back here. Try product 6, and for now, what do we not do? Right? It works, but the view bag isn't active because I didn't build. We added that parameter to our method. We stuck that value in the view bag, but we never compiled. So a build should fix this. So now I'll build. We'll try one more time. We'll take a break in a minute or two. Okay? Okay, so now if I click product 6, I get the right product name being passed. 10, So we're going to do this often, right? We have links, but those links have to include data along with them. So our view knows what record it's going to access. So we just basically modified the version of our action link. We used a different overload so we could include the product name on that link. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing with this and we're going to take a break. Any questions about what we've done here? This here? Okay, well, let's compare it to the other action links we have, right? So in these action links, we're simply calling a method, but those methods all have no parameters. Right? We don't have to pass index, about, contact, or products any values. Because our view product method has a parameter, right? We need to know what product are we viewing, so we've defined this input parameter here. So it's not enough when we're clicking, it's not enough to call the method. We also have to somehow pass that in. So our action link, it gives us optional parameters, which we haven't been using up until now. So this is taking the product name, so the thing that's actually, the text is actually displayed on the link, and we're passing it to the view product method as the product name parameter. Okay. So when you look, when I mouse over, notice the status bar. Takes the product name, takes this value, this text, and passes it to this method as that parameter name. So I have to make sure that what I put here matches exactly what's here. Right? They're tied together based on this. Okay, so that parameter name's got to be exactly the same in my action link tag and in my method. If not, so if I do it, let's say I did it like this. So my view is passing a parameter called name, but my method is expecting a parameter called product name. In Pascal case, let's see what happens in that case. It doesn't throw an error, it just ignores it, right? Because the method's looking for product name, and I didn't provide it. Okay? So sometimes breaking things is the best way to see how they actually work. I do it right and then see what happens if we change it. Does that help? Yep. Yes, you can either use the up-down arrows on your keyboard, or you can click these. There's a little up and down arrow here beside the numbers. You can't click the plus. I'll have to come and look at it. There is a way to do it, but maybe a little different in your version of Visual Studio than mine. Okay, so what I'm going to do, we're going to take a break. I'm going to push the code we've done so far up to my repository. Now, usually when you set your repositories up, I generally recommend you use the command line to do it. It's much easier. Once I have it already connected, though, using this Team Explorer window makes this pretty easy. So if you don't have it, you can go to View and Team Explorer, but I have it down here. So all I need to do to push these changes, in Team Explorer, if I click on Home, I get this. Click Changes. It shows me what files I modified this morning. Put in, again, a descriptive commit message that describes exactly what we did so far. And then from here, if I just click this little arrow, I get commit and push. So putting my changes to GitHub now that my repository is linked to this project, simple. I'll just save and push. which won't take very long. Right, it's successfully pushed. So now if I go to GitHub, all the changes we just did are here. Here's my everything store that was just updated with my latest commit. The Team Explorer can be buggy. Sometimes it hangs and crashes. So if you have problems with it, use the command line interface. But once it's set up, if it's working for you, save some time. It just means it's red. It means it's taken the local snapshot and you can push at that point. All right. So our code's on GitHub. It's 12:15. We'll take 20 minutes. We'll come back at 12:35. Okay. We'll do some more stuff with our everything store. Be with you in a minute, Mo.